back to my panelist. When we look at the Daily Nation today, maybe we can hear from you, Nyong'o, this particular headline, or let's begin actually with Honorable Kipruto Rapkirwa. Joho's school papers are forgeries. And now this is coming just not from, or it's not just a speculation. This is from the exam body, the Kenya National Examination Council. It says governor did not register for Form 4 test in 1992 as claimed. He has graduated. We also had issues with his degree certificate from Kampala University. That was also a very controversial issue. Right now we know he has graduated from a university in Thika, Gresta.
Yes.
So how did he actually end up in Gresta without a Form 4 certificate?
Well, I think it will be the height of hypocrisy if I was to make a statement to the effect that Governor Joho does not have the papers until it is proven otherwise.
But this is what the Kenya National Examination Council is saying. So are you doubting the credibility of KNEC?
Well, at times we doubt the credibility of some of the institutions which are supposed to be independent, in the sense that on the 25th of January, the director of CID wrote to the Examination Council trying to ask for Joho's documentation, whether they are genuine. And the following day, the information was given by the National Examination Council. Now, I do not know exactly what prompted the director of CID to write to the Examination Council, whether there was an allegation before, and those are some of the facts that we need to bring to the fore. It has happened before that Joho was alleged not to have university degree. Later on, he went through the rigmarole, and eventually he was vindicated by the court, the highest court on land, that indeed the certification that he has is genuine. So at times, one wonders whether Joho is a myth or is larger than youth really societies. Because why is the government obsessed about his taxes, about his accounts, about his academic qualifications?
But we have this pronouncement from IBC and also from the ACC that yes, they have to pass through.
Yeah, but also there is something fundamental.
The credibility of their papers as well, because we have fake degrees awash in this country.
No, please, if we have to clean our linen, let us all get naked and clean ourselves. Because let's not just focus on one individual. Because how did Joho qualify to be a member of parliament? Because the basic qualification is supposed to be he has at least a Form 4 certificate. We've not been told. So, the same IBC validated these documents before.
Do we question our institutions that they're doing a very sloppy, sucky job, Mheshimiwa Farah? Because how did he end up where he is as a governor if he didn't have the genuine papers?
That's the point. That's the point. I mean, there was an exhaustive process. And you see, this clearly right now, I can't vouch that Joho has all that it takes to be there or he doesn't have this. I mean, this is something that should have been done right from the beginning. But one thing we can all vouch, one thing we all know is that there's a witch hunt on him now. The state is hell-bent on finding everything and anything on Joho. The issue of now the qualifications, the issue of his own CF, you know, CF,
yeah.
What do you call the container depot that he's
forwarding.
Yes, yeah. And CFS, it's called CFS. The issue of qualification, the issue of CFS, the issue of his own accounts being frozen, the issue of him being associated with drugs. And then the guy goes to the belly of the beast itself and comes out clean. He goes all the way to the ambassador here, picks up the visa and says, listen, you have anything on me? Yes, I'm coming and presenting myself. And it turns out there's nothing on him.
Yeah, there was no warrant of arrest.
Absolutely nothing. And then what do we have? About a week ago, there's all this stuff that he's a political advisor, who is a retired major of the Kenya Air Force, is involved in drugs, is involved in extremism. Look at the contradiction in here. There's no way you can be an extremist, a fanatic Muslim who wants to go and blow himself up, and at the same time be associated with drugs. And it turns out that even the ATPU, the Criminal Investigation Department, And any other office here is not having any live investigation on Abdurrahman. But this is Marwa now doing it. Let me tell you one thing. It's Marwa doing it in Mombasa, because you have another Supremo there who has been let loose by Jubilee to do what he wants, and to rubbish the constitution, to rubbish the laws of the land, and to behave like a dictator in his own right.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Nyong'o. You think this is a witch hunt? And if at all this is true, then if the papers are not genuine, then what?
Well, I think it's a witch hunt, really, because I know that there's another Jubilee politician who is supposed to have gone to India to get a degree, and from what we read in the papers, his brother is the one who went to India, and apparently uses his brother's certificate. Apparently, he's not being investigated as serious as Joho is.
Yeah.
That case is completely being ignored. And many others like that. We have had all kinds of allegations about others. The government are not interested in them because they're on the right side of the political divide. Now, again, it says a lot about CID and the Examination Council. Joho was a member of Parliament 2 terms.
Yeah.
And if indeed these exercises are serious, they should have gotten him done. Then the exercises are just a normal kind of bureaucratic procedure with no substance in them. It's only when there's some political thing to be settled.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Do we have very sloppy job being done by
Yeah,
institutions?
definitely a sloppy job being done, because you can't have somebody being a 2-term member of Parliament, an assistant minister, and then he goes and stands for being a president, for being a governor. He's cleared. Then some months later, you begin saying, oh, let's examine this fellow. Question comes, why? Why didn't you do your job thoroughly in the first place? Why have you subjected him to, at least twice, as a member of Parliament, to submit a certificate? Because I know every time we are going for election, I have to submit the same things to these fellows. Copies of my degree, whatnot, certificate of good conduct, whatnot. So why do I submit them if they don't do proper homework to find out whether these things, you see? So I really think that this is an overkill on Joho. There are so many things that they're trying to find on him. It's just an overkill.
Right. Think he's an overkill, Dr. Shemochuodo?
Debal, before I comment on this, allow me, with utmost due respect to my colleagues, I respect the right of the Auditor General to select an advocate to represent him.
Are we going back there?
I just wanted to clarify one point, because perceptions are a very important point, Debal. Sometimes we try and sweep things under the carpet. You know, when Nyanza MPs come out to defend the Auditor General, there's a perception that's given. But I leave my case at that point. Coming to the element of Honorable Excellency Joho, we must respect our institutions. This is the double talk that kind of worries me. On the one hand, the opposition wants to say, look, if an allegation is made about corruption and an institution, the Auditor General says, there are issues not being answered, we do not want to question that. But on the other hand, when National Exam Council comes out and casts aspersions, we want to question why that's happening. But I understand the current focus on Joe, even me, defeats me. Why are we over-focusing on him? So any Kenyan, this is the perception I'm talking about. Anybody would be concerned about perception. But having said that, my challenge would be to the political parties. If we are really genuine, and I want to disagree with the former Deputy Speaker, when he says Joe came out of the US clean, I would want to put it to the US government. If my recollection is right, I think there was a statement they made and Honorable Joe was on a list. Are they telling us they've cleared him now? I would be very happy to hear that come out equivocally from the mission. But he's going into the US and coming out. There could be a lot behind it. I'm not saying that he's culpable, but I would also be slow to clear him in that regard. But more importantly is, can our political parties, if we are true to the Constitution, when it comes to the vetting stages, I have seen all manner of characters, and as Professor is saying, we have them on both sides that are both cleared by Jubilee and cleared by NASA. Really, when are we going to set the standards? And finally, in that regard, all my colleagues here belong to one side of the coalition or the other, and it's only them who are happy. There are a lot of Kenyans. Look at just, I think IBC had expected to register 9 million Kenyans. They probably ended up registering 4 million. Are we stopping to ask, why did the 5 million Kenyans not register? A newspaper, a journalist was calling it, it's not just a question of apathy, it's skepticism. Why are Kenyans so skeptical about the two sides of the divide we have?
Good question. Let's hear from Alice.
Once the opposition is caught flat-footed, they turn over the court to the other side. So they have various faces. This is a very clear case. Earlier alone, we were discussing about Ouko and his office and the independence of that office. Yes. And we said, actually, if there is material that needs to be interrogated, the institutions must be the ones to handle that so that we can avoid manipulation by other people and especially politicians. In this particular case, the director of Criminal Investigation Department wrote to KNEC, Kenya National Examination Council, with a copy, forwarding a copy of his results. The results normally bear an index number, and they wanted verification of the document. The answer, which has been given by KNEC, is that, and this is the acting chief executive, Ms. Mase Gadega Karogo. She writes and says that the document is actually obtained from a forged, the authenticity of the document
That's
is actually in question, and the document is a forgery. So we should be saying, if it is a forgery, then Joho is actually in deep trouble. Joho then should actually, the owner is the owner of the document, considering that the material is already out from a varied, credible institution. I would be very sad myself, and I would completely say that the institution, if it is found that the institution has not done its work, then we can actually say, look, can you correct that immediately or even sack somebody? But we must be able to say Joho is now holding documents that are not valid. I'm assuming what the Nation has posted here on page 6 is actually proper, because I don't have the benefit of seeing the documents myself you're referring to. I'm relying on the material that the Nation has actually posted here, and clearly even the index number was also changed and is forged.
So what does it portend for Governor Joho?
And I think let's not leave it to Joho only. I think it is everybody who is holding documents that are questionable. All of us present documents of our certificates, and I think this institution must look at all our documents.
All right. Yeah. So this is just a bellwether of what we are going to face in terms of fake degrees also, which are washing the market.
Correct.
Let's hear from Honorable Kirill. Come to you, Mheshimiwa.
Dibal, it is very important, and I agree with Mheshimiwa Al-Soome, that in case somebody has a problem, it is the onus on him to prove. But we cannot at the same time become a kangaroo court to pass a verdict on Joe that these documents are not valid until proven otherwise, because there is evidence in the past, and that is where my statement is, that Joho was being alleged to have a questionable certificate, a degree certificate. Later on, it was proved that the certificate was valid. This, going by history, this may be another case of witch hunting of Joho. And as Kenyans, we should not really be passing the verdict without any reason. Number two, where did the CID get this document? Is it Joho who was asked to bring his document for it to be proved? The last time I went to CID was to take my fingerprints for purposes of either I've committed any crime or not. But I don't remember CID asking for my Form 4 certificate or any other certificate in my possession. So we want to know what is the case of CID getting involved in documentation, unless there was somebody who made allegations. And that's the most important story Nation should have given us.
Let's hear from Professor Farah. Yes.
You know, let us be very clear about what we are discussing here. We are not in any way defending Joho. If he has documents which are not authentic, we are not. Secondly, we are not saying ourselves here that with the power or the knowledge to prove whether the documents are authentic or not. We are not. But what is interesting is that, my dear Alice reads this particular...
My dear sister, you know now, my dear Alice, can be mistaken.
My dear sister.
Yes.
I like that.
She reads this...
And you know, it is election time, you know. And you know.
It's election time.
She reads this news report selectively. That's the problem.
Selectively, on page 6.
Yeah, page 6. There's a paragraph which says...
which paragraph is this?
Paragraph. Look at the paragraph under that quote. Yes, there. Yeah, there.
He registered there.
Mr. Joho has been battling claims on the authenticity of his academic qualifications, with several court cases being brought against him since his election as the governor of Mombasa County. Several court cases. Mm-hmm. And we know that when you are taken to court, you're accused of something. The courts are very particular. Okay? The same institutions, CID and whatnot, have submitted evidence before. And we are just raising, really, just a valid question. Why several court cases? Mm-hmm. Why should he be cleared by one court or the other and we go back? It reminds me of the Nyong'o years, ourselves, being haunted or being plotting against the state. Several times I was taken to police station. I've been to all police stations in this Nairobi city, except Langata, being accused of the same thing. They come to my house, pick up books. They say these are revolutionary books. Mm-hmm. You know, so we are used to this. We are going back to the Nyong'o years. And what we are saying, I mean, Dr. Kudo is a very good liberal. He must say on the one hand this, on the other hand this. Truth has only one hand. You can't say on the one hand this, on the other hand this. On the one hand, there is legal. On the other hand, no. That's a typical liberal argument.
But you know,
let's hear from Farah.
Just 1 minute.
Let me just finish.
Because, you know, he's saying...
let me finish. Let me finish, because I didn't interfere with you.
Okay.
I didn't. So we are not in any way defending Joho if he has faith certificate. But we are going by the story. We are also going by the experience he's gone through.
Thank you. Let's hear
Why
from
is it that he's being confronted, like Farah was saying, on almost every aspect of his life? When the Uhurus and the Rutos have all kinds of potential criminal things which the state is not investigating.
Right, let's hear from Honorable Farah. Sorry.
You see, he has, by the way, the requirement for somebody to be cleared for a governor's race is a degree. There are universities in the world who you don't have to have a high school certificate or a primary school certificate or anything like that, as long as you have a mature age entry stuff. Like UNISA, hang on a minute. You've just heard what he was saying, and you better listen. If you've not been exposed that well, listen and then learn. For example, the biggest university right now and the most prestigious in Africa is UNISA, University of South Africa. You don't need to have any formal education for you to become a student in UNISA. You have to have just a certain age entry, which I think is 40 or 45, I can't remember. You can go in there and get your degree, which means any Kenyan can go in that now and get his degree and still qualify, because the law is very clear. The law says you need a degree to be able to be able to contest. Coming again to a high school certificate or a primary school certificate, Peter will tell you, up until very recently, although most of them are dead now, most of our professors did not even have secondary school qualifications. At the time we were under colonial problems, there are many of them who left primary schools here and went into pre-universities and ended up doing such conk fields as medicine and came back as a top specialist in their own fields without necessarily having gone through secondary education. So there are a lot of arguments to this. My point is this. This CID had the file of Joho for many years before. And all along they cleared him. This is the information we have. They cleared him because there was a case. Somebody had gone to court. Why is it that now that he has issues with the president, and information is coming out that people are saying that we will fix him, he has all these problems coming out. That is the main issue. Why didn't the CID do a job on this and say, because it took them 1 day, I think from the time they wrote to the KNEC to the time they got the information back is 1 day.
1 day.
And it has taken them 4 years before then for them to be able to come to, they never came to the conclusion because they had a live file with them.
Right.
And that was never done. So this is, like Peter said, I cannot vouch myself for that. But one thing I can tell you is that what we're seeing right now is driven by malice, by witch hunt, by politics.
All right. So what does it portend for Honorable Joho? Are we facing an impeachment? It doesn't matter if we hack back into history, whether we had MPs who are getting to parliament without degrees or not. We are going forward with the current constitution, and what is domiciled in the current constitution is if you're running for a governor, you must be a holder of a degree first. If there is forgery, what is...
A little way back, just to go back a little, on the question of the opposition changing faces. You know, in this particular case, because these are very serious opposition leaders, and they have said here on this platform that they keep the government on check. So when they say that, and when it comes to the question that in this particular case, they should be saying, let us interrogate, and let us have the facts laid down on the tables. No. You know, you are saying that, and then on the other hand, you are saying Alice is selectively reading the paper.
Yeah, it is.
If Joho indeed has been in various courts, it means his question regarding his papers has not been answered yet.
No.
And there is a good reason why, because this should actually be a test case for other people holding forged documents. And you know, this country goes wrong because we never live true to actually the true things. And the truth will always come out. Now, maybe the truth is now coming out. So in terms of impeachment, there is no time to impeach Joho because we have 4 months now to elections.
Your mode of reasoning is very wrong.
No, let me reason. You said I keep quiet. Look, and of course, my reasoning cannot in any way be like you as professor. But clearly, it's a question of integrity. If somebody is holding documents that are not correct, and we cannot encourage leaders to be presenting documents that when they are questioned, then we want to defend them, we want to say it is witch hunt.
No, we are not defending.
Do we have leaders? Because this is not first time we're having forgeries. We had the MP that was actually going to, where was he going with this fake visa?
All these things,
Italy
all these things are wrong.
Italy with the fake
All
visas,
these things are
certificates
wrong.
fabricated from River Road. So how much do
You know,
that is not public
actually,
domain?
if you presented a document that is found to be wrong and you served as a governor, you should actually be prosecuted.
No, the problem
Because there's a crime for forgery. Forging
Forgery is a
documents.
crime.
Yes, it's a crime in our criminal law books.
All right, just a moment. Maybe I should throw this in so for you also to think about it, because we have Patrick Wanyama saying the president clearly said 2-term Nyorosha. That is why Joho is being investigated.
Irrespective of what the president said, I think we are dealing with a specific issue here.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
We are dealing
All right, just a moment.
Specific issue.
that of Joho.
Not just of Joho, of documents being forged to ensure that you are actually cleared.
Okay, just a moment. Let's hear from Chodo and Honorable Kiro. We'll come to you, Professor.
Debal, we are a country living in denial. And it doesn't surprise me, but it worries me. You know, when people say they have been to school or to university and so on, whether it's Joe or it's Baba Yao or whoever it is, you don't go to school alone. You'll always find somebody who was in school or class with somebody. We shouldn't even be laboring about it. So if Honorable Kirwa says, I was in this institution, we'd find somebody, oh, you were my old co-alumni.
Yes.
So when people start having issues with whether they went to school or not, for me, it's just part of the rot of the larger societal rot, which we need to address as a country. And Professor here is right to say that, you know, it's not only Joe who has got issues. Even the leadership on both sides have issues. And this is why I keep going back to the Truth and Justice Commission report. As a country, we need to have a honest, genuine conversation because we have a big problem. But in terms of obsession with degrees, I'm one of those who support the view that there is no way that an ordinary person would effectively deliver a mandate as a member of parliament if he or she is not a graduate. However, I'm also alive to a rider that there are people who are naturally intelligent, you know, the Tom Boyers, the Bill Gates, and so on, who may not have been graduates. Other jurisdictions, what they do, they have that cap saying that you must be a graduate. However, they have a rider of an aptitude test. If we are doubting the quality of academia or, of Honorable Joho. Let's come up with a system where we say you must have a degree. However, there must, if you don't, there are exceptions. There are people who are just talented.
Let's say for Honorable Kiro, we'll come to you, sir.
Dibal, I think it's important that we debunk the notion that Mheshimiwa Wahome has, that we are defending an individual just because he happens to be on our side of the divide. What we've said, and this is what we maintain as a team, is that if somebody has any questionable credentials, the onus is on him to prove to us otherwise. But we have no right to condemn somebody on the basis of what has been reported in the media, given the history of this nation. Number two, I'm increasingly getting worried of a number of things happening today in Kenya. One of the things is, even up to the eve of the general election, we are still changing election rules. It is a dangerous precedent that people may sneak in some other issues, including what I saw IBC the other day, saying now even for parliamentary candidates should have university education. While we had known that up to 2022, that is when parliamentary candidates should have university education. These are some of the dangerous precedents that we are questioning the integrity of these institutions. That are they being pushed by somebody to curtail the opportunity of some people to get into parliament or any other institution that they desire to be elected into? So I think it is important. The way Shema said is true. As a country, we failed from the beginning because we are not a nation at all. We are just a collection of tribes, people who have certain positions just because they belong to those tribes. We are just a country of tribes. Whatever we're calling nation building is a stillborn. Nobody built this nation.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from Farah.
What I see is that Joho, according to the information we have, is that he started going to school in 2010 or somewhere around there. Before, as soon as we had this constitution which was promulgated, 2009, somewhere around there. The thing I can vouch for you, and Peter is also going to vouch for, is that the Joho you have today is very different from the Joho who came to Parliament in 2007, 2008, at the beginning of 2009. Clearly, this man has gone through a form of schooling. And you can see and appreciate it. This is a man now who can stand his own ground on any topic anywhere. And that was not the Joho we had who came into Parliament in 2008. On anything, literally. So I can clearly, based on that experience we've had and the interactions we've had, there's something you can really appreciate in terms of development, in terms of intellectual development in the fellow himself. So I am inclined to believe that he has registered for all these things and he went out and read very hard and most likely came out with all the degrees he has. And this issue of whether he had the right qualifications to begin those courses in the first place or not is a matter that the CID should have been able to resolve many years back, which they never did. All right. And you see, the mere fact, you have a man at the top of the helm of this country out there saying, Tutamnyorosha, we will sort him out. I mean, that statement coming from the president of a republic anywhere in the world is in itself the matter that should be occupying our minds and our debates in such a phenomenal manner that we should be talking about impeachment of the president himself. Because you can't get into a situation where the head of state, the top man in this country, is behaving like that, and we don't find any reason to deal with that kind of an attitude and that character, but we're looking for everything else to deal with everybody else in the country.
Let's wrap it up with you, Professor.
Let me say the following. I really get worried when my sister Alice Wahome says that we are defending Joho. I also get worried when she doesn't appreciate the meaning of having been to several cases being brought against him since election of governor of Mombasa, in courts, several cases in courts. What does it mean when a court clears you? It means that a court is not convinced that the evidence against you is valid. So you go. Several cases in courts. Now, that's where and the writer did not put this thing whimsically. He wanted to point out that, look, there is a witch hunt here. This guy has been in several cases in court where he was cleared. How come now, did the court not have good evidence brought by the state? Therefore, there was no evidence to convict him. Secondly, Why did the case in several times not have ocular evidence against Joho? These are questions we are raising. I mean, and these are real questions. You cannot avoid them. So when we say witch hunt, you say, look, we have there's a sequence of events, a series of events that points out that it's a witch hunt. And one of the last event is what Farah is talking about, when the president himself says we shall sort him out. Now, and soon after the president said we shall sort him out, then comes another issue with the Examination Council and the CID. These events are related, and you cannot say that the National Examination Council just woke up one morning and said, look, let's look at this case of Joho again to find out whether he doesn't have a degree or not. The National Examination Council is prompted by a powerful force which once sought out Joho, and that powerful force instructs the CID to take a step to do that. Now, this is a sequence of events we must question. Now, if indeed, after questioning those frequent events, it comes out very clearly that there were facts missed by state agency before, let them put them before us so that we get convinced, yes, that Joho has had forged certificates.
Thank you. All right. I think for the remaining minutes, I think we need to move on and see what is happening also with the other 40. 30 seconds to close it on Joho, please.
Just briefly, I wanted to say, let's not lose the big picture. There is an accusation here which borders on a criminal matter that Honorable Joe has a forged certificate. If I read, no, this is an allegation. If you can protect me from Honorable Farah, that's what's reported.
To get right. Yeah.
If this is true, that's a criminal matter. We know that the issue of fake certificates is a big problem in Kenya today, and for me, perhaps my little suggestion to the party that he belongs to, it should also bother the party. If it's true that there is a forgery, then there is a more serious problem that we could be addressing. But of course, if it bothers them, then maybe as a party, I would be happy to say they have taken it up and investigated before they clear him to present him as a candidate.
But who is complaining? Who is complaining? You cannot initiate an investigation without a formal complaint.
There's Kenya National Exam Council, which is saying this is a forgery. So let's get the bottom of that.
You know, Dibal,
but again,
there is no criminal...
Having said that, I must also take issue with the Excellency the President of personalizing issues as the symbol of nationhood. You don't really need, in fact, I even feel saddened that even ourselves, we are spending so much time on Joe. We should be talking about the problem of corruption and fake certificates.
We're drilling deeper, yes, on the issue of the malaise that is within, the system itself right now. And Joho is epitomizing all this that we actually talking about this morning, because we also have to support IBC and the EACC, what they're doing to passing these particular candidates through the rigmarole of a system to find out if truly they really pass muster and they can uphold the leadership and integrity chapter 6 of the Constitution as well.
Let me just say to wind up that there is no limitation to of statute in criminal matters, so that even if tomorrow there was no sufficient evidence and new evidence arises, you can still be held accountable for a criminal offense. And that's why my brothers here should be saying, even ourselves, we are concerned, because the people who will be presenting certificates are so many before the IEBC,
we are concerned.
And we should be the ones topping the list to say, let IEBC be facilitated by Kenya National Examination Council, so that we can, if you can forge documents, then and you are coming to actually manage public resources and public offices.
No, we are concerned, we agreed.
We are starting from the wrong
we are
position.
agreed, but by using that for political partisanship, like we are seeing, that's what we are questioning.
Very unfortunate.
There is.
We are talking about a deeper issue.
Thank you.
Why did the president say to
All right, let's leave it at that.